Dudu, the last Saturday, lost to Helio Gracie, has broken ribs. Anti-sportive and savage, talks about the violence of the fight. The papers just went crazy with that one. I couldn't take it anymore, said Dudu after the fight. I think he resisted too much, says Helio Gracie. This was probably the most violent fight in my father's career. Dudu was a wrestling champion and a regular training partner of my father. And they sparred all the time and stuff like that. And my dad, for whatever reasons, did not want to make Dudu tap out at every time they trained. So they would roll very intense rolls, and sometimes my father would win, sometimes he wouldn't. And you don't want to discourage your partner, that kind of stuff, but just kind of really tough guy no matter what. And I think that got to his head, and Dudu started thinking that Helio could not tap him out anymore. And the more they sparred, and sometimes the guy would just, huff and puff and the whole thing, and my dad would not submit him. And one day, Dudu started spreading the word that, Helio can't catch me anymore. He started feeling that confident on the whole thing. The word started getting around, and eventually, of course, comes back to my father's ears. And he said, hey, you said I can't beat you anymore. What kind of talk is that? Well, start feeling overconfident in the whole thing. And they scheduled a fight. Well, let's clean that up. Let's resolve this stuff on the mat. In the weeks that preceded the fight, they developed a personal grudge. They were friends, they were regular training partners, but the things started getting out of hand to a point that they really disliked each other. It's kind of a personal grudge. And the things started building up, and of course that increased the intensity, the anticipation for the fight to levels never reached before. It was really, really crazy. And Dudu, bigger, heavy, and stronger, feeling, of course, overconfident that he could do this, and that very accustomed to my father's game. And the fight was scheduled, and they began, and everything was happening. In this match, they face each other when they, get ready and stuff like that. My father fakes a kick, and Dudu, defends here. So my father goes on and kicks him on the mouth, and the guy spits out a couple of teeth. Got him really upset. So he rushed towards my dad, and my father sits down, puts the foot on his stomach, and throws him out. He flies out of the ring on that one. Comes back again, going, absolutely crazy, and he rushed towards my dad. My father tells me that at that moment, someone in the stadium, there was a silence, a moment of silence, and somebody said, underneath, Gracie. So Kimura is rushing towards him like this with the head down, and my father hits him with a knee on his face, mashing his nose, bleeding all over the place, and that really got Dudu upset, and the fight kept going, and eventually they go to the ground, and Dudu ends up in my dad's guard in a position like that. And, for your information, the fight happened in wood boards, wood planks, and canvas on top. It was very hard. It was not the soft cushioning of the mats. It was just wood and canvas. And because Dudu was so powerful, so strong, so much heavier, he was accustomed to my dad's game, usually kept my father on the bottom. And my dad ends up the fight with big, huge blisters on his shoulder blades for rubbing the canvas the whole time. Anyways, at that moment right here, when they're in that position where Dudu is on my dad's guard, there was a moment that they kind of still made the kind of fight just stop for a little bit. Suddenly, Dudu looks outside the ring, as if he's kind of checking something out. My father, curious to see what he was looking at, also follows his looks and looks to the outside. That's when Dudu hits him with a headbutt on the nose, and that's why my father had this broken nose because of that fight, that match. So he got a broken nose at that moment, and then the fight, of course, continued on. And eventually, my father, makes his move around, and they both get up again. And then my dad kicks him on the stomach, and then Dudu kind of collapses, can't take it anymore, and the fight ends at 19 minutes. So during the fight, when Dudu was on his guard, my dad hit him with the heels on the kidney so many times, the kidney shots with the heels, that after the fight, Dudu was peeing fragments of the kidney. So it was really violent and stuff like that. And the guy died a year later after the fight. And some people think there might be a consequence of the beating they took during the fight. So it was very intense, and unfortunately, the guy passed away that way, but that's just the fact.